felt like finding the perfect foundation was rather like looking for a needle in a haystack? Well, you're definitely not alone, because as a makeup artist who works specifically with women over 50, that's one of the most common questions I get asked. And it's not surprising, because the sheer number of foundations that are out there is mind-boggling. In fact, Lancome has 7, L'Oreal has 9, Maybelline has 10, and CoverGirl has 13. Luckily, there are some key must-have tips and tools that I'll share with you today that will not only save you time and money, but which will also help you find the foundation that's perfect for you. If this is your first time stopping by this channel, welcome. And if you're already part of this family, thank you. My name is Elise, and this channel is all about helping those of us over 50 feel seen, celebrated, and supported by focusing on makeup tips and techniques that work for us now, as well as health, wellness, and fashion tips. And speaking of wellness, be sure to stay tuned to the end of this video, because I'll be sharing 5 things you must do if you have a loved one who's ever hospitalized. Well, now let's get to today's topic. Today, we'll focus on 3 things. First, we'll talk about general tips for finding the perfect foundation. Second, we'll focus on important tips if you're heading to Sephora, Ulta, or a department store makeup counter. And third, we'll cover must-have tips if you're purchasing a drugstore foundation. The first 6 general tips are really questions you need to ask yourself before you start your foundation search. Question number 1 is, what is your skin type? Is it dry, oily, or combination? And this is crucial to know, because there are many foundations that will work well on dry skin, but which will leave oily skin looking like an oil slick. And a foundation designed for oily skin will make those of us with dry skin look like we've been wandering the desert for a few days. The second question is, how much coverage do you want? Lately, the market has been flooded with skin tints, which are beautiful and provide some coverage, but usually that coverage is pretty minimal. So if you're looking to cover up discoloration and or age spots, usually medium coverage will work well. And if you're looking for more coverage, be on the lookout for a full coverage foundation. And by the way, full coverage used to mean a foundation that looked heavy and mask-like. But thank goodness, the days of pancake makeup that barely let our pores breathe is long gone. Recently, a full coverage foundation called Good Apple from the brand KVD came on the market that was amazingly lightweight and also provided remarkable coverage. Question number 3 is, do you want a foundation with an SPF included? Many foundations do have an SPF of 15, which unfortunately really is not enough SPF to protect us. However, there are some foundations with sun protection which is much higher. An SPF of 30 blocks about 97% of UVB rays, while an SPF of 50 blocks about 98% of UVB rays. Although most SPF in foundations is chemical sunscreen, there are increasingly more mineral-based non-chemical sunscreens available in foundations, which is good news for many of us. The fourth question to ask yourself is, what type of finish do you want? A matte, natural, satin, or dewy finish? Matte foundations give the skin a shine-free, polished, and velvety look, and it's often preferred by people with oily skin because it helps control shine and can last all day. If you want the look of a natural semi-matte appearance with a hint of gloss, a satin finish is fantastic. Natural finish foundations are designed to be breathable, lightweight, and easy to wear, and they provide just enough coverage to hide acne scars. Dewy finishes give a vibrant, really youthful glow and are great for those of us with dry or dull skin. Question 5 is, what is the tone or surface shade of your skin? Would you call it fair, which is the lightest shade, light, medium, dark, or deep in color? And the 6th and last question is by far the most important one. It's knowing the answer to this question, because it can mean the difference between a foundation that makes your skin look ashy or orange. The question is, what's the undertone of your skin? The undertone is not the shade of your skin on the surface, it's the color beneath the surface of your skin, and it can be warm, cool, or neutral. The best way to determine the undertone of your skin is to look at the veins on the underside of your wrist and arms. If they're decidedly blue, you have a cool undertone. If they're definitely green, you have a warm undertone. And if they seem somewhere in between, you most likely have a neutral undertone. But if you're still not sure of your skin undertone, be sure to check out the pinned comment below where I've included a link to a video I created which goes through 9 ways to determine the undertone of your skin. It's not only important to know the undertone of our skin for our foundation selection, but it's also crucial in determining what lipstick and blush colors will really make our skin come alive. Fortunately, most high-end foundations mark their foundations with a C for cool, W for warmer, and for neutral. However, there are 2 brands that label their foundations in just the opposite way, MAC and Haus Labs. It's a totally frustrating mystery why these brands do this because it can be really confusing. But just know that if you shop for a foundation from either of these brands, NC on the bottle means not cool, but warm, and NW means not warm but cool. I know, it's really crazy. Now, let me show you with a quick demonstration how important it is to get the foundation undertone that matches the undertone of your skin. I'm going to swatch 3 different foundations on my face. One foundation has a warm undertone and the other 2 have cool undertones. When you're swatching shades, it's very important to swatch halfway down your face and onto your neck, and not on the back of your hands, the front of your neck, or on your arms. And then it's helpful to blend the shades out a bit so they're not so heavy looking. Let the foundation totally dry before making a decision about it, and this is because foundation that's wet will look lighter because it's reflecting light. Now let's take a look at these 3 foundation shades. The first one I'm going to apply is from Makeup Forever's Hydra Glow line of foundations. But the first thing I have to do is remove the makeup from this side of my face. And you can certainly see the redness coming through. Now let me pat it dry. So this is the Nars foundation. It's probably best to start about here, and then I'm going to bring it down onto my neck. This next foundation is Giorgio Armani's Luminous Silk. And this next foundation is one from Nars. It's their Light Reflecting Foundation. So this is the Nars, this is a Makeup Forever, and this is a Giorgio Armani. Now we need to let all 3 of these foundations dry thoroughly. And by the way, the foundation that I'm wearing on the rest of my face, and which I took off earlier, is Charlotte Tilbury's Beautiful Skin Foundation in shade 3, which is Cool. All right, I think these have thoroughly dried, and I hope you can see this. It's a little hard to tell because the light kind of washes things out a bit, but I hope you can see that this shade is actually a cool shade, but it's a much rosier cool shade, much pinker cool. So there are variations within cool and warm and neutral for sure. This shade is a Giorgio Armani, and I think you can see that it actually disappears into my skin. And that is the best indication of a great shade match. This middle foundation is the one from Makeup Forever, and it is a golden warm undertone. And you can certainly see that that does not work well with the cool undertone of my skin. All right, I think I'm going to remove these stripes. That was interesting for me to see how much better a shade match the Giorgio Armani foundation is than the Nars foundation, although I can wear both. As I mentioned, the shade that's right for you will literally blend in or disappear into your skin. And as you saw, the shade from Giorgio Armani certainly did do that. Now, if you're in a department store, try to narrow your choices down to 3 foundation shades at the most, and then narrow it down again to 2 shades, and cover most of one side of your face with one foundation and most of the other side of your face with the other foundation. This will give you a much better chance of discovering which is the best foundation for you, because just comparing 2 stripes down the side of your face doesn't work nearly as well. It's also very important to look at the shades in natural light because store lighting is notoriously bad. Now, I know this will probably feel a little awkward, but let the associate know that you need to take a look at the shades in natural light and then take a mirror with you to the nearest store window. Then look at the shades close up in the mirror and then also step back and look at them, because it's important to take a look at the shades from a distance as well as up close. And by the way, if there's any way to have natural light in your bathroom when you're applying makeup, you'll save yourself from the experience of looking in the rearview mirror of your car later and wondering, what the heck was I doing when I was applying my makeup? Well, if you don't have a window in your bathroom, make sure that you do have full spectrum lighting. If it turns out that you're just not sure which is the best shade, which can often happen, ask the associate to give you samples to take home with you so you can take your time and check them out at home in natural light. Associates are more than happy to do this, so don't hesitate at all to ask. And if you already have one shade of foundation that you love, but you're looking for a new one, take the good foundation shade with you to the store so you can compare it to the new shades that you're looking at in the store. So for instance, I would definitely take that Giorgio Armani foundation with me because that is such a close shade match. And it would be great to compare that with any new foundation I'm looking at. Now, let's talk about tips for picking out the best drugstore foundation. This definitely gets a little bit trickier. So before grabbing your car keys and heading out to the drugstore or jumping online to place an order for a drugstore brand, it's really well worth taking some time first to do some research. Head to the website of the brand that you're interested in and read the descriptions of the various foundations so you can narrow down your choices. Unfortunately, shade names can often be pretty confusing or generic in drugstore brands like Classic Ivory or Pure Beige, which don't give you any hint of the undertone of the shade whatsoever. But thankfully, most drugstore online sites now let you filter the shades by the undertone, so you can click on warm, cool, or neutral and then narrow down the choices from there. Or they may have a shade name like Classic Ivory, but provide additional words to describe the shade, such as light, cool ivory. Many sites also have shade finder quizzes or a way to get an instant match if you know a shade in another brand, which is a great match for you. Some sites also offer virtual try-ons if you upload a photo. Now, I've found that the brand that has the easiest foundation online help for choosing the right shade is the brand e.l.f. There are also 2 online sites which can help you find the correct shade in another foundation if you already have one shade in a foundation that looks beautiful on you. The sites are Foundation.com and MatchMyMakeup.com. And the MatchMyMakeup.com site also helps with lipstick choices in various brands. And 2 last tips for finding your perfect drugstore foundation are: number 1, never go by what the color looks like in the bottle, since colors can oxidize and the bottle can be frosted, which distorts the color. And 2, since it's so very easy to end up with the wrong foundation shade at the drugstore, no matter how careful you are and how much research you do, always shop at a drugstore where you can return foundations, even if they're opened. I remember shopping for a foundation from the brand number 7 at Target and having to return 2 different shades before I found the shade that was a perfect match for me. Stores where foundations can usually be returned include CVS, Walmart, Target, and Walgreens. However, I highly recommend that you always call the store first and check, because I once went to a Walgreens that didn't take foundation returns. So apparently whether they take returns may sometimes also depend on individual store policies. And as I mentioned earlier, if you'd like more help identifying the undertone of your skin, be sure to check out the link to the video that I pinned in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed today's video, please give it a thumbs up, which is a big help to my channel. And if you haven't yet subscribed, I certainly hope you'll do that as well. Now, I mentioned earlier in this video that I'd share with you 6 things that you must do if you have a loved one who's ever hospitalized. And let me share those things with you now, because I think this is really important information. These 6 things are recommended by a doctor by the name of Dr. Suneel Dhand, who's a general practitioner with many years of experience working in hospitals. So here are his 6 recommendations. Number 1, give the hospital staff an updated medication list, since often the one on the computer is wrong. 2, check your loved one's vital signs of temperature, pulse, oxidation, saturation, and especially blood pressure, since often blood pressure can drop dangerously low. 3, good nutrition is very important for recovery, and Dr. Dhand says he personally wouldn't touch hospital food because it's highly processed, cheap, and pro-inflammatory. He says relatives should bring in meals of natural foods with no sugar especially. 4 is to help the patient get up and walk around as soon as possible. Help them walk a few times each day if there's any way to do so. 5, insist on speaking to the doctor every day. And 6, insist on clear discharge directions. that include information on who the patient should follow up with and when, what follow-up tests are needed, what to do if things go wrong, and what to expect as the patient recovers. In the pinned comment below, I've also put a link to Dr. Dhahand's full YouTube video on this subject, so you can also hear additional background information that he provides. Until we see each other again, I wish you good health and happiness and hope you have a fabulous rest of your day. Take care.